Hello and welcome back to my channel. This one's going to be a bit of a mess of a video. Well, more like a recording and then slapped in images because I'm still trying to learn and grow and adapt to different things, and I don't want to be unfaithful to myself. So, anyway, disclaimer ahead, or disclaimer aside, I am going to be doing a why I like Mecha and robots, which it's a huge broad umbrella, and that's to include like cyborgs or anything that involves some sort of, I guess, mechanical like limbs, that kind of thing. It could be steampunk. God, there's a mile long list of what this covers, and that's just in a start, right? So to clarify by mecha, I mean anything that's a robot or a giant robot or something of that line. Um, it's again, it's a broad term, but as long as it features something along those lines, and along with that, I guess you could say the Iron Man suits themselves are a form of mecha, but I think that's I think Iron Man himself is a separate franchise, which I would love to do a video on later on. Um, but what I'm talking about is Gundam, the Zords from Power Rangers, Transformers. Again, they're their own franchise, so I don't want to mention them too much. Um, and they all go into their own different kinds of categories. So there's giant robots, super robots, real robots. There's far more to it, but I'm trying to keep this as general as possible because I want this to set up kind of an umbrella to further discussions about different series. So some of the series that I consider that would fall under this would be there's a toy series called 52 Toys. They do different animals, different robots that all turn into these neat little cubes that fit into like these little storage containers, or they call them like box chargers. Um, some of them combine, some of them interact with each other in different ways. It's a fun toy line. I love it. It's colorful. They have different animals, that kind of thing. So it always feels like there's a uniqueness, but then they also have the repaints, so that way if I don't like a certain color scheme, I can pick a color scheme that I do like. Right? It's they're a wonderful little franchise, and seeing them expand and grow has been fun to me. Um, of course, I mentioned earlier Transformers, the Zords from Power Rangers, or Mecha from Super Sentai. Uh, Zoids. Zoids was one of the biggest ones for me, and one of the most iconic Zoids up to date is the Liger, so that's an easy one. Um, there's Gurren Lagann. I mean, Gurren Lagann is an absolutely goofy, like overly cartoony, but still has its serious moments kind of thing. I will have to go back and rewatch the series, but they do play into that very well. There's the Brave franchise, and no, I'm not talking about the. I think it was a Viking girl from Disney. I'm talking more about a whole bunch of robots combining with each other and having these weird different combinations or different styles. I'll go. I'll go ahead and make a video on that later on too. There's Voltron, which was probably one of the most like memorable kinds of mecha for me because it's again just giant cats that are robots that combine, piloted by a bunch of different characters. It it was mentioned that Evangelion falls into this category. I'm not really 100% certain on how that works because they are part fleshy, they are part robot. It's a weird mess, but I'm going to include it in my mention here because I absolutely adore it. Um, Pacific Rim, again, that's an easy one. Um, and Mecha aren't just toys or in anime, they've made it into different card games. It's been featured in so many different facets, and it's a wonderful thing for me. One, every bit of me has to argue with the suspension of disbelief to understand or see why things are fun or cool, and then I start breaking it down in a way within myself that I'm like, okay, I can see why that would function, or I love how overly like over the top and cartoony they are about their stories. Anything that fights giant monsters, I'm not going to be upset about a giant robot fighting a giant monster. I love that kind of thing. Um, and heck, there's Mecha Godzilla. That's a very good prominent throw out as well. And again, these kinds of things just I adore them. And sure, some of the ones that I've mentioned fall under different categories or are featured in different ways. And I think that's a beautiful thing is that it's not just a solo kind of thing. Um, Sometimes I find that I like the designs or that I like different storylines, and that kind of helps draw my attention to the mecha. And sometimes I just like the mecha itself. Um, yeah. My love for mecha or robots in general kind of came from a when I was younger, and it was a good old Mech Commander game, and I never really understood what strategy was until my dad kind of showed me this game that was these goofy giant boxes with legs and missile launchers or machine guns, and the strategy game itself was fascinating, but then the designs were also fascinating. So that kind of amplified the love for these things even more. And over the years, I've seen like the model kits of different Gundam, and some companies are starting to put out more in different designs or similar designs to Gundam, but still have their own unique touch. So my love for giant robots stays alive for as long as I keep seeing unique, crazy designs. Um, and I noticed it with I mentioned my nephew in a different video. He loves the way of like integrating different Lego sets into each other, and he gets creative with it, and it's always fun to see like what nonsense he can come up with. Like he made a dragon with a flower pod that carries an egg, but it was also originally part of a robotic T-Rex set, and when you take that kind of interchangeability and throw it into like a model kit for like the 30-minute mission series, it makes it a lot more fun to have these kinds of things and to get into the hobbies. And I've seen different generations like interact and grow with the love of these kinds of things, and it's something I think is really cool. I've built model kits with my cousin when I was visiting them, and we just sat there and watched goofy videos while building model kits and discussing different designs and the different things that come up. I mean, different robotic animals that can combine, or just this weird giant sword wielding freaking robot is it's hilarious because when you think about it, it's like, well, if I were to take a sword to just a tank, I don't think that would work. but these franchises kind of help break that or integrate that into their stories, and it's a fun topic for me. Um, but yeah, that's about it. A lot of my videos to come are going to be going into different specific series, kind of doing a more broad discussion, and then again, if I garner an audience, I want to go into lore or styles or different series and kind of share that love and that passion with other people. And again, I know I'm going on rambles most of the time when it comes to these kinds of videos, so I apologize. And I hope you guys like what I have to say, and if anybody who's watching this wants me to cover a different topic or subject onto these kinds of broad umbrellas, please feel free to leave a recommendation, give me a like. If you want to keep dealing with my nonsensical rambles, feel free to subscribe. And thank you very much for any support, regardless.